Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Aviators St Helena. My name is Kabir and I'm the host on the show with Warwick. Today we'll be joined by Tom in our virtual studio.
Today on the show we'll be talking about the history of Medevac flights at St Helena Airport. What are they and why are they so amazing for the locals? We will also be giving you the latest news about 2 recent Medevac flights to the island. Enjoy the episode.
This Aviators St Helena episode is produced in partnership with St Helena Airport Ltd. To find out more about St Helena's airport, visit www.sthelenaAirport.com. To find out about visiting St Helena, visit the St Helena Tourism website at www.sthelenaTourism.com. There are many more Aviators St Helena videos on the horizon, so stay tuned. The Aviators South Africa is produced in association with African Pilot magazine. Subscribe to Africa's finest aviation magazine today. For more information, go to www.africanpilot.co.za. For only R65, you can get an Aviators South Africa and St Helena membership. Every 2 weeks, you will get exclusive members-only live streams where we will discuss a topic and discuss it in depth, but also give you a behind-the-scenes look at how we operate, etc. Some months, you will get also additional content weekly, but this varies month to month due to editing constraints, etc. Another thing you can get as a member is early access content. So you can get the public video before the public has seen it. Visit our website, the link's in the description below, to find out more about becoming a member for R65 only.
We are going to start off by answering a simple question. What is a Medevac flight? While a Medevac medical evacuation flight is similar to an air ambulance service, it is usually a private jet aircraft converted to an ambulance on board. They will normally have special medical equipment on the aircraft to cater for the patient.
A milestone moment occurred when the first Medevac flight arrived on St Helena. The first Medevac arrived on 3 June 2016. The flight departed early the next day with very unwell recently born baby and mother. Baby Eli, as he is known, was flown to South Africa to receive urgent medical care. Baby Eli is fully recovered and turns 5 next year.
St Helena Airport has had a total of 30 Medevacs carrying a total of 69 patients and accompanying family members in most cases to South Africa for medical treatment. They have also received 4 Medevac flights which stopped at St Helena before continuing to Ascension Island, 700 miles, which is 1,126 kilometers away.
They also took a Canadian citizen visiting the island back to Canada via Tenerife for medical treatment.
The St Helena government contracted with ER24, a well-known private medical group in South Africa, to provide the service along with Guardian Air, their partner.
James Kellett, the compliance manager at the airport, told us, "Planning a Medevac flight is no easy task. It usually involves the St Helena government, ER24, the airport and the authorities in South Africa and Namibia. Due to the lockdowns associated with COVID-19 in Western and Southern Africa, planning these flights are extremely difficult. Nevertheless, all parties work hard to collaborate and get the patient to urgent and advanced medical care as soon as possible."
There have also been many non-emergency medical patients who use the SA Airlink scheduled services to get to South Africa to receive medical treatment that cannot be provided at the St Helena Hospital. This service is also used when specialist investigations involving blood, tissues, etc. are required. These services are not available on the island and as a result are transported abroad for further analysis.
Interestingly, this process is similar for serious forensic investigation, which must be conducted in the UK. The SA Airlink flight also allows life-saving medications and supplies to be flown to the island, which is extremely helpful for time or temperature-critical medication. Although the usual scheduled SA Airlink flight is not operating, the airport is still very much open.
2 recent back-to-back Medevac flights have shown the life-saving abilities of the airport, even during COVID-19. The flights took place last week and enabled a very premature baby and an adult male to receive advanced medical care in South Africa.
Gwyneth Howell, the CEO of SHAL, St Helena Airport Ltd, for those of you who don't already know, also explained to us that the airport is still open and ready for any Medevac flights that may be required by the St Helenian community. The airport also needs to remain open to maintain its connection to South Africa and further afield.
This shows what was once known as the world's most useless airport is actually a life-changing and life-saving airport. St Helena Airport is also one of few airports that has remained open during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Many people, both old and young, will not be alive today if it had not been for the airport. This is something many will be eternally grateful for.
You're listening to the Aviators St Helena, produced in partnership with St Helena Airport Ltd. Hello and welcome back to the Aviators St Helena. My name is Kabir and I'm the host on the show, and I'm joined today in our virtual studio by Warwick. Warwick, it's nice to have you here with me to discuss St Helena, Medevac and more. And we're going to start off with a common question that we have had from various people. Does St Helena have COVID-19? So the answer is no. Currently, St Helena is one of a few places in the entire world which has not had a single case of COVID-19. Obviously, we hope that this doesn't change, because it would have dire effects to the people on St Helena. But for the most part, there's no COVID-19 on the island, which is a great thing. In South Africa, St Helena's neighbouring country, we have almost 700,000 cases of COVID-19. And so it's really different. But there are some major issues and dire effects on St Helena, even though they don't have COVID-19. But it's happened just because of COVID-19. Essentially, there are many economic effects, because the SA Airlink service to the island has stopped at the moment. That means a lot of cargo can't come in, passengers, tourism, etc. And tourism is a major part of St Helena's, economic activity, which is why actually they opened up the airport in the first place, was to boost tourism to the island. And that's also one of our missions here at the Aviators St Helena, is to boost tourism to St Helena so that more people know about St Helena and what it has to offer. But at the moment, none of this is happening. There are also many issues in terms, there's a lot of PPE being worn at the airport, etc., when international flights come in, and the quarantines all happening for the planes from the UK. Warwick?
Well, I guess it's also a bit odd, at least for me, I find it a bit odd to think about the fact that, as an example, some countries, like neighboring countries, there are lots and lots of COVID cases. And you'd think, even if it's one of the more rural countries with not big airports, not many people which live on the island, or even just the general country. And it's a bit crazy to think that there's not a single COVID case in somewhere which, to be fair, isn't that far from anywhere else. It's like, as an example, if we compare us, and I don't know, you can even compare somebody somewhere up like Zambia or Angola, they've still got lots of cases. I mean, it's not nearly as much as we have, but they still do have lots of cases compared to something like St Helena. So it's a bit odd to think about it in that respect, and almost a bit, I don't know, serene and scary. Not serene, surreal, sorry. And then in terms of how it could affect the Medevac service, there are a few ways which it could. I mean, firstly, it's not going to affect it that much compared to what it would if they had COVID at the island, because basically it's still the same people living the same life, just taking a few more precautions in terms of international flights and in general anything coming in from outside the island. So I think you've kind of got to look at it in that way, that actually not much currently would have changed, but in a few months, or even hopefully have had COVID, but if they do, then it's possible that the Medevac service would have been affected quite deeply, and there would be more flights to the island in terms of taking, citizens which are very, very sick with COVID to a better hospital, or more equipped hospital, I should say, somewhere else, like in South Africa. Kabir?
Yes, that's a fair point. I think another interesting thing is the Medevac service has somewhat been affected. The passengers who need to go for operations, etc. in South Africa, or tissue and blood work, etc., like we discussed earlier, have to normally fly on the SA Airlink service, but that's not possible now. So the question is what's going on. I think charter flights are in the making, etc. And that could affect it. But to put it in perspective for some other people who are not from St Helena does have their own hospital. The trouble is that with the hospital in the middle of nowhere, on an island in the South Atlantic, they don't have all of the necessary equipment. And it takes a lot longer to do things. So should a COVID outbreak happen, there have been ventilators, PPE, test kits, etc., which came on the Titan Airways flight, one of the initial Titan Airways flights, donated by the UK government. So they have that. But, should an outbreak occur, who knows how many people are going to get severely ill, etc. And so then Warwick is right, there will be more need bringing COVID patients to South Africa for medical treatment. Needless to say, though, that South Africa's medical situation at the moment is also not great at the moment in terms of ventilators and how much of PPE test kits they have. However, it's still a lot better from where St Helena are, sitting in the middle of the South Atlantic. But it is really surreal to think about an island which has no case of COVID. And we're just living and breathing COVID, really. So it must be really nice at the moment to be living in St Helena. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Aviators St Helena. Special thank you to whatthesaintsdidnext.com and St Helena Airport Ltd. If you enjoyed the video, give us a like, subscribe and enable notifications so that you'll get notified when we release a new video. There are many more Aviators St Helena videos to come, so stay tuned, stay safe and happy flying.